You already know something is wrong. You've known for a while. Maybe it's the way certain conversations leave you feeling smaller than before they started. Maybe it's the cycle, the tension, the explosion, the apology, the calm, that keeps repeating itself no matter how many times you tell yourself, this time will be different. Maybe it's quieter than that. Just a slow, creeping feeling that you've been slowly disappearing inside a relationship that was supposed to make you feel more like yourself, not less. And yet, you stay. And then you feel confused about the fact that you stay. Maybe even ashamed. Because from the outside, it looks so simple. If it hurts you, leave. If it's breaking you down, walk away. People say it like it's obvious. Like the only thing standing between you and freedom is a decision you simply haven't made yet. But you know it's not that simple. You've always known. And the fact that nobody has ever been able to fully explain why, that silence has probably made you feel more broken than the relationship itself. So today, that changes. Because the psychology of why we stay in relationships that hurt us is one of the most complex, most human stories science has ever tried to tell. And by the end of this, you're going to understand yourself in a way that replaces the shame with something that makes a lot more sense: compassion. Let's start with a thing happening inside your brain that nobody ever talks about. When you are in a relationship with someone who hurts you and then comforts you, your brain doesn't file those as two separate experiences. It fuses them. The pain and the relief become chemically linked. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist who has spent decades studying love and attachment in the brain, found that romantic love activates the same neural pathways as addiction, the same dopamine reward system, the same craving, withdrawal, and compulsive need to return. Which means this: when the person who causes your pain is also the person who soothes it, your brain doesn't learn to avoid them. It learns to need them. The cycle of hurt and repair doesn't weaken the attachment. It deepens it. Every reconciliation, every moment of warmth after the coldness, every apology that feels genuine, your brain registers that as a reward. And rewards, neurologically, pull us back, every single time. This is not weakness. This is not stupidity. This is your brain doing exactly what brains do, chasing relief from the very source of the pain, because that source has become the only place it knows to look. And it goes even deeper than that, because this didn't start with this relationship. There's a psychologist named Dr. Sue Johnson, the founder of emotionally focused therapy, who has dedicated her career to understanding why humans bond the way they do. And what she found is that the patterns we bring into our adult relationships are almost always blueprints drawn in childhood. The way we learn to attach to the people who were supposed to keep us safe, that becomes the template. The familiar, the thing our nervous system recognizes as love, even when it hurts. If love in your earliest experience came with unpredictability, warmth one moment, withdrawal the next, your nervous system didn't learn that love is consistent. It learned that love is something you have to work for, earn, hold on to carefully because it can disappear. And so the anxious pursuit, the staying, the trying harder, that doesn't feel like dysfunction. It feels like love. It feels like what you're supposed to do. Dr. John Bowlby, whose work on attachment theory changed the entire field of psychology, showed us that humans are biologically wired to maintain closeness to their attachment figures, even when those figures are also the source of fear or pain. He called it the paradox of attachment. The person who hurts you is also the person you run to for comfort. And when those are the same person, leaving doesn't just feel hard. It feels like it goes against something fundamental inside you. So you stay, not because you don't see what's happening, but because your nervous system has learned that this person, this dynamic, this particular kind of pain is what belonging feels like. But there's something else keeping you there that's even harder to talk about. And this one might sting a little. Hope. Not naive hope, not foolish hope. Deep, genuine, completely human hope. The hope that the person you saw at the beginning, the one who made you feel seen, chosen, like finally someone understood you, is still in there somewhere. That if you could just find the right words, the right moment, the right version of yourself, they would come back. That the relationship you fell in love with is still possible if you just don't give up on it. Dr. Judith Herman, a psychiatrist and trauma expert whose work on complex trauma is considered foundational in the field, describes this as one of the most powerful psychological forces keeping people in harmful relationships: the intermittent reinforcement of hope. When kindness and cruelty alternate unpredictably, the moments of kindness don't just feel good, they feel like evidence. Evidence that it's real, that it's worth staying for, that leaving would mean abandoning something that could still become what you always believed it was. And so you hold on. Because giving up on the relationship can feel like giving up on the version of yourself that believed in it. And that is a grief that goes far beyond just losing a person. There is also something that rarely gets named in these conversations, and it matters enormously. Leaving is not just an emotional act. It is a practical one. It is a financial one. It is a social one. For many people, the relationship is woven so deeply into the structure of their life, their home, their children, their sense of identity, their community, that the cost of leaving feels impossible to calculate, let alone afford. When people stay, they are often not staying because they can't see the harm. They are staying because the architecture of leaving feels like it would require dismantling their entire life at once. And on top of all of this, there's the question of self-worth. Because harmful relationships have a very specific way of dismantling it so gradually, you don't notice until it's gone. When someone consistently criticizes you, dismisses you, makes you feel lucky to be chosen while simultaneously making you feel like you're never quite enough, you start to believe it. Not all at once, but slowly. And when you believe it, the idea that you deserve better stops being obvious. It starts to feel like something other people get, not you. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the world's leading trauma researchers and author of one of the most important books written on the subject, has shown that prolonged exposure to relational harm rewires the brain's threat response. You become hypervigilant to the other person's moods, hyper-attuned to what they need, what might set them off, what might bring the warmth back. And all of that vigilance leaves almost no bandwidth for the most important question of all. What do I need? What do I deserve? What does a life without this even look like? And if you can't imagine it clearly, it's very hard to move toward it. Here's what all of this is really saying, and this is the part that matters most. You are not weak for staying. You are not broken. You are not someone who simply doesn't love yourself enough, as though self-love were a switch you forgot to flip. You are a human being whose brain, whose nervous system, whose entire emotional history has been working, quietly, constantly, with everything it has, to hold on to connection. Because connection is what we are built for. Because belonging, even imperfect belonging, even painful belonging, speaks to something in us that is ancient and real and doesn't respond to logic alone. Understanding why you stay is not the same as accepting that you should. What it does is remove the shame from the equation. And shame, more than almost anything else, is what keeps people stuck. Because shame tells you the problem is you. That if you were stronger, smarter, more lovable, none of this would be happening. And as long as you believe that, the idea of leaving carries the weight of self-condemnation rather than the lightness of self-rescue. The truth is something different. The truth is that staying made sense given everything your nervous system was working with. Given what you learned love looked like. Given the hope you carried. Given the life you built around this person. None of that was wrong of you. All of it was human. And when the understanding replaces the shame, when you can look at yourself with the same compassion you have so readily given to everyone else, something shifts. Not all at once, not dramatically, but the ground changes slightly under your feet. And sometimes that is where everything begins. You don't have to have it all figured out today. You don't have to know every step. You just have to start telling yourself the truth. That you deserve to be in a relationship where the person who loves you is not also the person you need to recover from. That is not too much to ask for. That is the minimum, and you are worth at least that. If this reached something you've been carrying quietly for a long time, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.